Further development in the mystery over the whereabouts of Sierra Leone's missing vice president. This time yesterday we heard Sam Sumana was not at his official hilltop residence and not at the US Embassy, where earlier in the day he'd said he was seeking asylum. At the end of February, after one of his guards had died from Ebola, Mr. Sam Sumana had put himself in voluntary quarantine. And then last week he was accused of anti-party activities and expelled from the governing APC. Well, today he's remained in hiding after fleeing his residence yesterday. Following developments in Freetown is Umaru Fofana.
There appears to have been an apparent climb down. Vice President Sam Sumana has just told me on the phone that he is prepared to return to his residence if the state returns to him his 26 bodyguards who were taken away yesterday by armed soldiers. He says that all those men have been taken to an Ebola observation center in the outskirts of Freetown, insisting that if he gets them back, he will definitely go back to his residence. When I asked him whether that meant that he was now withdrawing his request for asylum with the United States Embassy here, he said if he was giving back his bodyguards, he would definitely rescind his application for asylum with the United States Embassy. The US Embassy here, however, is not saying anything about that asylum request. They're only saying that they've been observing the situation and they'll continue to observe it. A quote attributed to the State Department spokesperson in Washington, Darby Halliday, by the French news agency, says that the United States Embassy is in touch with what they call relevant officials in Sierra Leone, and that the quote, "We urge all concerned to resolve the situation through appropriate procedures that respect due process and the rule of law." That's all we've got from the United States government.
So have there been any more official statements from the Sierra Leonean government?
Well, I've called a government spokesman, Abdoulaye Berete, to react to the Vice President's proposal for his armed guards to be returned. He says he cannot react to a request that has not been put to the official government channels. He says that the Vice President makes that request to the police or the army or some other government officials, then they can come up with a response to that request. He says he cannot say anything beyond that because he is not aware of any such request.
Now, it appears that Mr. Sam Sumana had actually agreed to resign, but then went back on that.
Well, yes, actually there was a first anniversary memorial service today held for the late former President Amat Jankaba, and this Vice President Solomon Berewa, who actually was defeated in 2007 by Ernest Bai Koroma, admitted publicly that he had been engaged by the President to go and mediate in the matter between himself and the Vice Presidents. And after he had made a statement, I spoke to him to give me detail about this negotiation, and this is what Solomon Berewa had to say to me.
The one thing that struck us was that he admitted to us that he and the President had not been on good terms for years, and the working relationship between them had irretrievably broken down. On the basis of that, we thought the best thing he was to do was to resign.
And what did he say?
Initially, he was reluctant, but eventually he admitted that he would do that.
The Vice President agreed that he would resign.
He would do that if he got all his benefits and got himself reinstated in the party. We took that message to the President, and the President was not averse to that. Part of the delegation went back to him to inform him that the President was not averse to his suggestions. It was then he came out clearly that he was not in the mood to resign.
Was any timeline given for him to resign?
We didn't expect it to be long. In the morning of Friday, he promised to write the letter and give it to me to take to the President.
His letter of resignation?
Then he reneged on that.
Did he get back to you once he decided he was no longer going to resign?
He told those who went back to him that he was not going to resign. Later, his lawyer met him again, and he said, all right, he'll write a letter of resignation that very night and send it to me on Thursday night. He didn't do it up to Friday morning. The next call I had from him was that soldiers have gone there and withdrawn his security details.
And that was Sierra Leone's former Vice President Solomon Berewa talking to Umaru Fofana in Freetown.